As Shen Qingqiu thought back on this segment of Proud Immortal Demon Wei, his facial expression kept changing erratically. He failed to notice even when the others addressed him. Yue Qingyuan had to repeatedly call his name many times before he finally returned to himself. What? Mu Qingfan passed him a piece of paper. Every month, take these 4 medications, then circulate your spiritual energy with someone who has high quantities of it. This will assist you in maintaining regular spiritual circulation. If you do these things, you shouldn't have any problems. He paused for a moment. The only thing is, I'm afraid that from today onwards, Shen brother, occasionally your spiritual qi will at times suddenly stagnate, or you may suffer other abnormalities in your circulation. The other 3 people in the room all paid close attention to his expression. One must remember that, to cultivators, the stagnation of spiritual qi circulation was a profoundly terrifying problem, especially if it cropped up during a duel between expert practitioners, where a single slip-up could mean your life. Little did they know, Shen Qingqiu was immensely satisfied with this result. For somebody in a Scum villain role to be poisoned with something like without a cure and still be able to live, it was giving him too much confidence. Even if he knew that he only needed to, with a protagonist to cure the poison, could he? Yue Qingyuan sighed. Had I known any of this would come to pass, I would have not left the mountain. Shen Qingqiu thought his tone was too solemn. The Immortal Alliance Conference has always been a massive event that the various sect leaders must work towards to organize, he hurried to say. How could you not have gone, brother? This happened due to the demon's underhanded deceits and my own carelessness. You must not hold yourself responsible. If he didn't say this clearly here, given Yue Qingyuan's personality, he might never leave the mountain ever again, and he'd stay and defend Changqiu Mountain sect to his last. That was all entirely possible. To his surprise, Mu Qingfan also guiltily declared, No, the fault is all mine. If I hadn't failed to realize there was a demonic invasion, and if my skill weren't too poor to fully cure Shen brother, it wouldn't have come to this either. No, it has nothing to do with you two, Shen Qingqiu insisted. Come to think of it, I was a bit indelicate and smashed a giant hole in the ground before Chongding Hall with that hammer. The 3 of them devolved into jumbled apologizing and blame-taking, the scene both chaotic and comical. It left Shen Qingqiu both touched and a bit embarrassed, his entire body breaking out into goosebumps and his scalp going numb. Liu Qingge stared out the window, face expressionless. He waited until they had exhausted themselves, then finally took a sip of tea and said, This matter must remain secret to all but the 12 Peak Lords. If outsiders became aware that Changqiu Mountain's 2nd Peak Lord had such a deadly weakness, things would be unfun, to say the least. All 3 of the others naturally understood this. Do you think the burden of the Peak Lord will be too heavy, Qingqiu? Asked Yue Qingyuan. The original Shen Qingqiu would most likely have suspected that Yue Qingyuan was trying to undermine his authority or something of that sort. However, the current Shen Qingqiu knew that Yue Qingyuan was genuinely worried about him overworking himself and damaging his health, and he rushed to respond. Sect head elder brother, you don't need to worry about me. I won't waste away to that degree, he smiled, then continued. Right now, I am able to steadily get better and cultivate even if the poison is still here. I'm very satisfied. Then they discussed a variety of details of the demon invasion before Yue Qingyuan and Mu Qingfan took their leave. Shen Qingqiu watched them go, thinking it all terribly funny, yet he also felt this indescribable warmth and peace. Even though his fellow disciples' personalities were all different, with some easy to get along with, some difficult, they all breathed as one. Though split into 12 peaks, whenever something went wrong, they were all a dependable family, except for the original Shen Qingqiu, of course. Liu Qingge put down his tea, which had long gone cold. If it weren't for your lack of ghostly qi, I definitely would have thought you were possessed. And the one who remained just happened to be one of the difficult ones. On a certain level, your guess is very correct. Liu Qingge continued. You saved me in Lingxi caves. That in itself was inconceivable. During the demon attack, you also rescued some nameless disciple and almost lost your life. You were poisoned to the point of damaging your spiritual energy levels, and you should be furious, yet you peacefully accepted it. Someone else doing so wouldn't be so strange, but you? You doing so upturns everything. Shen Qingqiu absolutely didn't want to discuss the issues of his own OOC personality with Liu Qingge. He called Mingfan to refresh the tea, then leaned back and smiled. Nameless? That's only for now. That disciple of yours, his base is indeed excellent, Liu Qingge said. However, a fair number of his level of aptitude are invited into the large sects every year, and in the end, the number who can become truly outstanding is less than 1 in 10,000. Shen Qingqiu suddenly sensed danger. What if Liu Qingge became a stumbling block on Luo Binghe's journey to becoming overpowered, and during a confrontation between the two of them, was KO'd in a snap? For everyone's sake, he need to warn Liu Qingge. Believe me, he said patiently and earnestly, this disciple of mine will definitely be a success. I sincerely hope that when you have the chance, you can give him a little support and guidance as often as possible. Mingfan was half dead from depression. He had only come to refresh the tea, yet he had been forced to hear Shen Qingqiu, his ally in torturing a shared enemy, heap praise after praise upon Luo Binghe. The level of frustration he felt was akin to that of the confidant who for years always cursed a little bastard with you, suddenly went and coupled up with the same little bastard you tormented together. Repulsed, he immediately decided to go be repulsive to others. A stormy Mingfan found Luo Binghe in the kitchen, pondering over what food to make Shen Qingqiu the next morning. Mingfan showered him with verbal abuse before issuing a series of commands. Go chop some wood, chop 80 bundles, fill the entire woodshed, fetch water, the water jars in our rooms are all empty, are you blind, can't you see? But, apprentice brother, if the woodshed is full, where will I sleep? Luo Binghe asked, perplexed. Mingfan stomped his foot, spittle flying everywhere. Isn't it flat here? Isn't the floor enough? I just filled the water jars in your rooms today. That water isn't fresh anymore, redo it, refill them all. In the past, some grievance and bitterness might have sprouted in Luo Binghe's heart, but today his attitude was completely different. In his eyes, these were all good training opportunities. He already had such a good teacher, one who thought of everything for him, one who was even willing to sacrifice his life for him, right? What training could he not overcome? What suffering could he not withstand? Luo Binghe didn't say another word. He turned on his heel to get to work. Mingfan could derive not even a little satisfaction from his reaction, and instead he felt even more frustrated. He stormed away while cursing. I really can't understand what about that brat caught Shizun's eyes, for Shizun to suddenly see him in this new light, a success and outstanding. Even if that brat bewitched Shizun with some poison, Marshal Uncle Liu still won't guide or support him. Unthinkable! Though Mingfan cursed unceasingly as he went, his voice wasn't loud. But how could Luo Binghe, with his blindingly fast progress and naturally sharp 5 senses, not hear? Mingfan's mutterings were largely harsh words and phrases, but in the midst he touched on the key words, and in an instant Luo Binghe took those bits and pieces to guess most of the whole picture. So, Shizun had actually spoken about him like that in front of Marshal Uncle Liu? The feeling of having someone speak about you so highly somewhere you couldn't see, that feeling was truly indescribably beautiful. Warmth suddenly surged in Luo Binghe's heart. The more it surged, the stronger it became, gradually flowing through his entire body. Luo Binghe felt like a steady strength had taken root somewhere in the depths of his heart and was starting to bud. Even his hand, carrying the heavy wooden bucket, seemed to become stronger. At this time, not only did Luo Binghe not feel like other people were making things difficult for him, his expression became joyful and satisfied. If Shen Qingqiu were there, he would definitely have suspected that, within the depths of his heart, Luo Binghe was actually an extreme masochist. However, Shen Qingqiu was astoundingly oblivious to the fact that, thanks to the divine wingman abilities of his useless teammate Mingfan, Luo Binghe's favor had again risen to a new high. For the time being, Shen Qingqiu was lying down in elation. That day, the always lofty Qingjing Peak's doorstep almost broke from all the feet rushing across it. The various peak lords all brought their disciples to visit, along with gifts of condolence. After all, during Sha Hualing's armed provocation, the rainbow bridges had been severed, and Chongding Peak had been sealed by a barrier. They had been unable to intervene, and so the burden of the fight had fallen on Shenqingqiu. Anyhow, Changqiu Mountain hadn't lost too much face. But no matter whether their past relationships had been good or bad, the Peak Lords absolutely had to come and express proper sentiments. Shenqingqiu calmly received their greetings and used the chance to learn the faces of several Peak Lords he hadn't met yet, while also taking the opportunity to make some small talk and strengthen his relationships. That night, he was on cloud 9 as he thought, "Finally, I can have a peaceful night's sleep." However, 4 hours later, "Peaceful night's sleep, my arse!" Shenqingqiu stood in the middle of a stretch of chaotic nothingness and stared out at the endless horizon. He'd definitely just been drunk on satisfied smiles, comfortably sinking into sleep on his bed. So could someone explain why he'd been dragged into this space? Shenqingqiu really wished he had a gong, one he could ring to summon the system so that he wouldn't need to always yell at the top of his lungs within his mind, "System, are you online?" The system provides you with 24-hour service. Where is this? What's the situation? This is a world within a dream realm. Of course I know this is a dream realm, said Shenqingqiu. Tell me, how could such abstract scenery exist in reality? I'm asking why I'm here. Come on, he thought, please don't let it be what I'm thinking. But this world really wouldn't give him a break. Just as he thought, don't in the next second, he saw a figure that was unbearably familiar. Luo Binghe stood before him, bewildered in the middle of a never-ending wasteland. He also seemed entirely lost as to why he appeared here. After a moment of bewilderment, Shenqingqiu's form came into view. Luo Binghe at first seemed startled, then dashed over happily, like a chick who'd seen its mother hen. Oh my god, my brain, what kind of shitty analogy was that? Shizun, Luo Binghe exclaimed. He had already been trapped in this world for a long time. He was instantly excited by the sight of Shenqingqiu and called to him repeatedly, again and again. As soon as Shenqingqiu laid eyes on him, he recognized this place and what scenario he'd been thrusted into. Instantly, all of Shenqingqiu's hope turned to dust, and even as a shower of tears rained down on his heart, he patted Luo Binghe's shoulder. I heard you. No need to call me so many times, he said. Yes, Shizun, Luo Binghe said hurriedly. Why are you here too? Do you know where we are? Being lazy, Shenqingqiu directly echoed the system's lines. This is a world within a dream realm. Then why am I here? Luo Binghe asked again. Anyone else being here is the strange thing, while your presence is quite natural, said Shenqingqiu. This is your dream realm.